Okay, hello. We are going to continue our discussion on sampling. So last time we discussed the different classifications of sampling, wherein we learned that there are two classifications of sampling. We have the probability and a non-probability. Under the probability, we have the simple random sampling, cluster sampling, systematic sampling, and stratified sampling. We also learned how to compute for the sample size using Slavin's formula, wherein n where the sample size equals the population over 1 plus NE squared, um, using this formula. Okay, so yan, using this formula, and we were able to do sample computations of actual population versus the sample. So for this particular session, we're going to discuss how to compute for the sample size using the stratified sampling method. So yes, last time we learned about computing for the cluster sample size, wherein there is only one specific category that we are following up. So let me just bring that up again. Okay, so this is the data that we had. This is the data that we had last time, wherein we computed for the sample size based on the population for region 1. Okay, so from this sample, we were able to gather that there are 9,981 respondents for a population for region 1 based on the Sloven's formula. So for this example naman, we are going to compute for the sample size based on a population that is divided into other categories. So we have this category, which is the province, and we have to get the sample size based on a male or female population. So based on our example last time, the first thing we need to do is to, of course, get the population or get the sum of the values. So for this example, we need to get two population, okay, two totals. Total for the male and female for all of the regions, so all of the provinces, and total of the male and female per province. Okay, so you can add that up. So I have a tentative values already prepared. So we're just going to get our um, sum or the total of all of these values. Okay, so for male, we have 317,131. And for the female, we have 183,839. So these are just sample values, hindi to actual, okay? So for your specific researches, depende kung ano yung sample size na makukuha nyo or the population. And then we need to get the total population per province. So for Pangasinan, I need to add this plus this. Okay, and do the same for the other regions or other provinces, and we would be able to arrive at a population size of 500,970. So ito ngayon yung ating magiging N, the 500,970. So supposing we're going to compute for the sample size based on this, okay, using this, what you call this, uh, margin of error of 5%. So can you please compute? So using our information yesterday, so from here, first level, substitute the values tayo. We have 500,970 over 1 plus 500,970 times 0.05, which is the decimal version of the 5% and the square over there. And then you should be able to arrive at this value, which is 0.0025. No, so we already learned last time how we got the 0.05 squared, 0.01 squared, 0.03 squared. So for this example, 0.05 squared is 0.0025 And then we're going to multiply these two values to 500,000 and 0.0025. You should get, what is that? 1.4, 1,252.425, okay, times, okay, pa-plus natin yung 1, we would get 500,000 over 1,253.425, or a sample size of 399.68, or a whole number of 400. So for this sample, kukuha tayo ng 400 na respondents. Imagine nyo, from 509, na-reduce tayo sa 400 sample size. So anong susunod na gagawin? Based on our example, we're going to get the percentage value. Okay, so percentage value, what again? The small n over the population, or the big N. So equals 400 divided by 509,000, 500,970. Okay, and you will get this value. Okay, check natin. So in your calculator, baka magkaroon kayo ng error, parang may exponent ng -4. So this is the entire value of that number. Okay, so once you already finished getting the percentage value, ang gagawin natin is we're going to get the sample size for each population, for each province muna tayo. So equals ulit. So ita-times natin ito, yung population for each province times the value of the percentage. So this one times this one is 54.61, or that would account to 55 sample. Tabi ko lang to. Okay, for this one equals this one times the percentage value. Okay, 149, or this would be 149 pa din. For this one, it's times this one. We arrive at 98.65, or 99. And this one would be 97.59. So that would be 98 na. Okay? So all in all, you will get a sample size of 401. So napansin nyo, medyo sumobra tayo sa 400, pero okay lang yan. Okay, better to have more, a little bit more, para at least pag hindi sumagot yung isa, you still have 400 respondents. Okay? Now, next. So meron ka na population, sample size per province. Now, we need to get yung sample size per category ng male and female. So, ganun pa rin. Gaya ng sinabi natin last time, you need to get the same principles as that of dun sa ginawa natin, the step 3. Kukunin natin ulit ang percentage value ng population, the sample size over the N, which is the total. Okay, lagay ko dito para hindi kayo malito. So, anong gagawin natin? I-divide natin ulit yung sample size over the population of each province. Right? So for this one, this is my value. Okay? Gagawin natin dyan. Gawin natin lahat for each of the provinces. Ayan. And then, same is true ng ginawa natin before. I-multiply natin yung value ng each category doon sa percentage value. Okay? So, this one times this one. Alright? Ganun din dito. And then this one times this one. Okay? So, ganyan siya. So, kukunin natin ulit ang whole number. So, for this one, we have 31 male and ilang female. 24 female. So, yan. So, nakuha na natin yung values ng sample size per population and per male or female. So, for Pangasinan, kailangan natin ng 31 na male and 24 na females. For La Union, we have 75 males, 74 females. For Ilocos Sur, you have 72 and 27 for a total of 99. And for Ilocos Norte, you have 98, 75 male, and 23 female. So, ganun ang pag-compute ng sample size when you have a levels within clusters. So, ito yung pinaka-level. So, baka pwede rin siya later on na age group, pwede siya by gender, by occupation, later on, baka meron kayong ganun. So I have also prepared an additional one, another example here. Would you mind computing for the sample size for each of the categories for every course and for each for the male and female clusters or categories? Okay, so pause the video if you want to do this, right? And then write it on the board, write it on your, what you call this? Write it on your the yellow pad para mailagay natin sa inyong, what you call this? Google Classroom, same as what we did yesterday. All right? So that is how you compute for stratified sampling method based on the may clusters and then meron kayong different categories under that. Okay? So we will continue with our topic on probability sampling. So okay na tayo sa probability sampling. So you compute for the sample size using the Slovin formula. But nowadays, we're already using the Rausov. So ang tinuro ko sa inyo is the long method, yung kailangan mano-mano kayo ng computation. Just in case, hindi naman available ang internet sa inyong lugar, you can always do the manual method. But there's what you call the Rausovs already. Let me put that up in my screen. Okay, wait lang. I-share ko lang yung slide. Okay. So for Rausovs, you have to go to rausov.com siya. And from here, you're going to compute, you can already automatically compute kung ano talaga yung sample na kailangan nyo for your uh, research or your population. So in here, you will be presented with this format. So you will be asked for a margin of error that you want. So as I mentioned last time, it's a value of 1% to 5%. So normally it's a 5% value. So, kung ano yung nilagay nyo doon, minus nyo lang sa 500, sa 100, doon yung ilalagay nyo dito in terms of the confidence level. So, confidence level natin is 1. For example, this would become 99. Okay? If the value you put there is 5, you should put here 95. Okay? Tapos yung population size. Let's try yung example natin kanina na 500, 970. So we put here 500, 970. Tingnan nyo yung magiging tingnan nyo yung result. It only required 384 na sample size. Okay. Yung kanina, we were presented with a value of 400 dun sa isang example. So this would be a faster method for you if you have internet and you have access to this. Just remember that if you're going to be discussing the respondents of the study na area in your chapter 2, explain nyo kung paano nyo kinompute yung sample size nyo. Where did you get that? How did you arrive in that number? Okay, did you use Rausov or did you manually compute the sample size using Slovin's formula? Okay, so from this population, you are going to only extract 384. Okay, ganun, i-explain nyo lang dun sa chapter 2 nyo in terms of the respondents of the study. So you will say, for example, the study will the respondents of the study are 384 respondents from the region 1 population computed with a margin of error of 5% and a confidence level of 95%. So, ganun siya. Okay? So, kung mano-mano naman, ilagay nyo na you manually computed using Slavin's formula. Okay? Na ito yung na-compute yung sample. Ganun lang. Explain niya lang siya dun sa chapter 2. Okay? So, from there, let's move on. Yan. So, you already know that how to compute for the probability sampling. We're now going to go to the non-probability sampling methods. So for this one, as we have mentioned last time, not all members of the population has an equal chance. So for this, normally you do the non-probability sampling pag hindi nyo alam kung ilan yung exact population. Okay? For example, ilan ang mga single women sa Mangaldan. Okay, some of us may not have an idea. Wala tayong data. So, ang gagawin nyo, mag-assume kayo ng kung ilan lang ang isasama nyo in your respondents. Provided that, depende kasi sa gagawin nyong method. So, for example, convenience sampling, ito yung pinaka-typical na ginagawa in terms of um, magpapa-testing ka ng product, 'di ba? Kung sino lang yung nagpunta doon sa booth mo. Like you're sa food tasting, 'di ba? Meron sa mga supermarkets 'yon. So kung sino yung nandun, nag-set up ka ng booth doon, nag-set up ka ng mga pa-testing ng food mo or ng product mo, yung mga magiging respondents mo ay kung sino lang yung dumaan doon sa booth mo at the time that you were conducting the test, the product test. So this is the most common one if you are doing a product testing or introducing a product to the market. All right? So, kung sino lang, whoever was present at the time the research is being conducted. Convenience sampling siya. At kung saan lang siya nandoon. So, non-probability because nobody knows where you're going to set up and nobody knows, you don't even know who are going to come in your testing or the product testing that you're going to do. The other one is quota sampling. You have a specific number of respondents that you have identified. So this is a combination sometimes of convenience or purposive. So pwede mong sabihin na convenience quota or convenience purposive. When you do convenience purposive, lagay ko lang dito, convenience purposive, okay? Pag convenience purposive, you are targeting, i-explain ko na rin yung sa purposive, you are targeting a specific set of respondents based on a criteria. Okay? So, okay, balik tayo sa convenience. Nandun ka na, nakaset up ka na ng booth. May mga dumadaan-daan na sa iyong booth. Okay? Dahil ikaw ay gumagamit ng convenience purposive sampling method and you have a certain criteria that you need to fill up. Okay? You need to adhere to. Kung ano lang yung criteria, yun ang i-insert, yun isasama mo sa respondents mo. For example, ang criteria dito, 50 parents na may children younger than 7. So may dumaan sa booth mo, you have parent siya, pero wala siyang anak na beyond the younger than 7 years old, meaning to say 1-year-old to 6 years old. Hindi siya pasok sa criteria, so hindi siya pwedeng isama sa respondent mo. Okay? You need 50. So next, next customer, may dumating. Child niya, meron siyang parent siya, pero ang child niya is younger than 7. So this particular respondent is included in your respondent. Okay? Another thing, may dumaan, anak, may kasama mga bata, pero hindi naman siya yung parent. Wala siyang anak. So hindi pa rin siya kasama dun sa iyong criteria at hindi siya pasok sa iyong respondents. So, ganun yung purposive convenience purposive. So, combination of convenience quota naman wala kang specific na criteria, basta makabuo ka ng 50. So, for example, ang quota ko 50. So, kung naka-50 ka na respondents na dumaan sa iyong booth, sila na yung magiging respondent mo. Convenience quota. Iba yung convenience purposive. Pwede rin combination ng convenience quota purposive. Okay? Ito, gaya nito. 50 ang kailangan ko for a certain criteria. So, purposive quota. Sampling. Ganon. So, these three can be used in combination with each other. Okay? Para makakuha ka ng iyong respondents. The last one in the non-probability sampling method is the snowball sampling. So usually this is done to in terms of sensitive subjects or sensitive topics in research. Halimbawa, naghahanap ako ng mga prostitutes in Mangaldan. Kung meron lang, just as an example, sa sensitive information, hindi naman lahat ng tao alam kung saan at sino-sino ang mga prostitutes in Mangaldan. So what you do is, as long as you know somebody, okay, it works in the referral method. Referral method, meaning to say, kunyari may kakilala ka lang na in that business. May kilala po ba kayo na prostitute or bayarang babae? Kailangan lang po sana namin for our research. So this person might point you to somebody whom he knows who is a prostitute or fits the category that you're looking for, no? So i-refer ka doon. So na-meet mo na yung taong yon. So that person can now refer you to other people who might also be fitting for the criteria or for the group that you're looking for. Okay? So pwedeng drug addicts, for example, or yung mga criminals because of the data privacy, ang hirap na nang mag-expose ng ganito. Other forms of this would be you can use this for your RRS actually, yung snowball sampling. Pag naghahanap kayo ng literature or ng studies na mahirap hanapin, mahirap makapaghanap ng RRS. Normally, you look at the references at the back. Di ba sa bawat study or sa most books, they have references at the back kung saan nila kinuha yung information that they put in your journals or their journal articles. That can lead you to more references, and these references can now lead you to more other references as well until you populate your respondents or your bibliography. Okay, so ganun ang snowball sampling. Okay, so now we're finished with the respondents of the study. So basically, like I said last time, you would have to identify who are they, how many are your respondents, why were they selected in your study, and of course, if you did a sampling method, you have to identify what sampling method did you use and what computation, how did you compute for the sample size. So, yan. Okay? Next, we go to, tapos na tayo sa respondents. We go to the procedure of the study. So for the procedure of the study, you would have to identify or present, of course, how will you be conducting your study. Let me do a text box so that I can write more notes. Okay, so for the procedure of the study, you have to discuss here how will pa lang kasi wala pa tayong future tense pa tayo. Hindi pa siya ginagawa or hindi pa siya ginawa. How will you be conducting the study? So, similar to a recipe, di ba? Marunong naman siguro mga nagluluto dyan, di ba? May recipe. Okay? Similar to a recipe, you would have to explain in the procedure of the study how will you be conducting your study. So, kasama dyan would be the first part is the construction and validation. So, under ito ha, under ito ng construct ng procedure of the study. Validation, construction and validation of the research instrument. So, in this portion, in this section of the procedure of the study, you would have to present how did you prepare your research instrument. Okay? So, depende sa magiging research instrument nyo. I mentioned last time, you can use your survey questionnaire. You can use an interview guide. You can use an observation guide or other similar guides or checklists, pwede rin, that you will use to gather your data. Okay? To gather data. So you would have to introduce or present how many, sa survey instrument, how many questions are in the survey questionnaire. Okay? Where did you base your questions in the questionnaire? Saan nyo galing? Saan galing? Saan kayo nagbase ng mga questions na tinanong nyo in your questionnaire? Okay? So that should be introduced or presented in your procedure of the study, particularly in the construction and validation of the research instrument. Okay? Now, so as mentioned, how many questions? Like the study will use survey questionnaire. Kunyari, the questionnaire will be a 15 question questionnaire based from saan kayo galing or saan galing yung mga questions na pinaglalagay nyo doon. Okay? Generally, any instrument that you're going to use, okay, any of these should answer your SOPs. Okay? So, check later on ng panel nyo, nagja-jive ba ang survey questionnaire nyo, interview guide or observation guide, whatever you're going to use, sa SOP nyo. Will your instrument be able to answer your SOPs? Okay, that is the purpose of the SOPs. It should help you answer your SOPs. So, kung yung SOPs nyo says, what is the current status of this particular business. So, if you're going to use interview guide, dapat tinanong mo yon. Nandun yon sa may interview guide mo in your questions, di ba? So, ganun din. So, if you're going to ask about the factors affecting, dapat nandun din yon sa iyong questionnaire. Okay? Okay, so how many questions are in the questionnaire? So you can just count how many. You have to justify why you included those questions in your questionnaire. So generally, okay, generally, when you um do construction of the research instrument, you would have to explain saan galing ang mga questions nyo. So, paulit-ulit ako ng sinasabi, no? How did you construct it? How did you where did you base your questions from? Okay, how many? So, yun yung mga kailangan ilagay nyo in terms of the construction pa lang ng instrument. And then, in terms of the validation, kasi kailangan yung maipa-validate yan, yung validation portion ng iyong research is of two types. You have the validity testing and the reliability testing. Right. So when you do validity testing, ano ko lang ito, validity testing, you would be doing, you will be asking people, experts in the subject matter to check your prepared instrument. Okay? So, ang gagawin nyo, meron tayong form, may evaluation form na binibigay sa mga validators. So, you have to make sure na yung mga validators nyo ay talagang expert. Maalam sila doon sa topic ng research ninyo. Okay? And then, pasasagutin nyo sila. So, bibigay nyo sa kanila is the SOP. Okay? Of course, you have to prepare a letter of request for your validation doon sa taong ini-intend yung mag-validate ng inyong research validation ng research instrument. And then, coupled with that, you have to give him or her the copy of your SOPs and the copy of the instrument. Okay? Plus, of course, you would have to give as well the evaluation form na kung saan dun niya i-evaluate yung iyong questionnaire. Okay? Let me check if I have a copy of the evaluation form. Sige, I will check. Let me check. I don't think I have it in this laptop, pero there is a form. Ay, ito pala. Okay, let me show it to you so that you can already understand. Okay. What it looks like. So let me share this portion. Where is that? This one. So I will give this copy to you in the GC. So ganito yung itsura ng evaluation sheet. So like I said, sa evaluator nyo, you need at least 3 validators to check your instrument. Okay, whether it's a checklist, whether it's a survey questionnaire, or interview guide, kailangan yung mapavalidate. So this is a form that you will give to your validator wherein they will have to check kung ano yung validation score nila sa inyong instrument. So they will grade each question. Okay, so each indicator, check nila kung ano yung score nila. Okay, generally, you would want a score of at least 4 and 5. Kasi dapat mataas ang validity score niya. Okay? So this is an example. I will provide you a copy of that form in the GC para meron kayong gagamitin later on. So this should be comprising, pag each validator dapat may isang ganito. Ito yung set. This is what you're supposed to give your validator. Okay. Please take note that validators, yung pipilitin yung validator should not be a panel. Okay? Panel. Hindi pwedeng mag-validate ang research panel ninyo. So make sure na kunyari si Surgeon Emil ang inyong panel, hindi siya dapat magiging validator. So you have to look for somebody else who's qualified as well to be a validator for your research instrument. Next, for the validity, the reliability naman, okay? For the reliability testing, gumagamit tayo ng Cronbach's Alpha. Cronbach's Alpha formula. Okay, may statistical analysis ito. And what you do here is, kailangan yung mag-pilot testing. So, dumaan na sa validation, na-test na, na-check na ng yung validator na mataas naman ang validity index niya. Okay? The next thing you need to do is to do a reliability testing. Now, for the reliability testing, what you need to do is to have the revised and approved validation ng inyong research instrument, and you pilot test it to at least 10 to 15 respondents. Okay? When I say respondents here for the reliability, hindi sila yung actual, not your actual respondents. Okay? So, hindi pwede na yung ipapilot testing nyo, sila na rin yung respondents nyo. No. It has to be a separate group of respondents that have similar qualities as your actual or intended respondents. For example, ang respondent ko talaga ay senior high school ng Metro Dagupan Colleges from grade 11 to 12. So, saan ako pwedeng mag-pilot test? Ang pwedeng mag-pilot test sa akin is also from a private school outside of Metro Dagupan Colleges na grade 11 and 12 as well. So, similar qualities, private school, nasa senior high. So, sila yung pwedeng mag-pilot test. So, gagamit ako ng validated research instrument ko, ipapatesting ko sa kanila. Papasagutan ko sa kanila yung aking instrument, and then I will have to compute for the Cronbach's alpha formula. So, hindi ko pa muna i-discuss in detail yung sa reliability kasi this will be done in your research too. Okay? So, I will discuss Cronbach's alpha and the validation more extensively sa research too. So for now, you would just have to indicate in your construction and validation of the research instrument that you will be doing validity testing or reliability testing. Explain nyo lang in your construction and validation of the research instrument, explain nyo lang that you will be conducting the validation. Dapat ma-identify nyo na um, kung sino-sino yung mga magbabalidate. So mga ano lang, tentative pa lang, hindi pa sila yung actual. Kasi remember, this is still a proposal. Okay? Pwede pang mabago ang inyong proposal or inyong topic later on. So, magbabalid, yung ilalagay nyo dito sa construction and validation is just tentative. It will still be validated later on. Oh, sorry, approved later on by your panel. Okay? So that is for the construction and validation of the research instrument. Okay, kung may questions dyan, please let me know sa chat box or you can just PM me para at least ma-address natin yung question. So another section of your procedure of the study is your administration. Administration of the research instrument. Okay, so for this one, you already finished your validation and your reliability testing. Dito naman, i-discuss ninyo yung procedure. Paano ninyo for administration of the research instrument. This is now where you're going to discuss how are you going to administer or you float your questionnaire, distribute your questionnaire if you're doing questionnaire, no? So if you're doing survey questionnaire, for example, how will you, what is the procedure for uh, floating or administering the questionnaire? Paano nyo i-conduct yung data gathering? So, magsa-survey questionnaire ako. Anong procedure? Step 1, step 2, step 3. First thing you need to do, of course, is to get approval from the company head or whoever is in charge of a particular group. Okay? You seek approval, so may letter of request kayo na ibibigay doon sa kung anumang kumpanya ito na pupuntahan nyo. Okay? If it's the general public, for example, magfo-float kayo in Mangaldan, okay, kailangan nyo ng approval ni Mayor so that you can conduct your study. Okay? So, once you have your approval, you have to schedule. Kailan kayo magfo-float? You have to already explain, identify where are you going to collect data. So, for example, sa MDC kayo magpapa-administer ng inyong questionnaire. Kailan yon? At paano kayo magko-collect? So, will you be asking the students to meet in a particular room? Will you be coordinating with their class advisor, for example? para mag-gather yung mga respondents nyo? Or are you the abangers? Meaning to say, iaabangan nyo lang ba itong mga respondents nyo in a particular place doing convenient sampling until you collect a certain number of respondents in your study? Okay, so where are you going to collect? How are you going to collect? So, kung meron kang product sampling, for example, balak nyong mag-set up ng booth sa plaza. Okay? So, kailangan nyo ng approval from the mayor na kayo ay magko-conduct ng study. You have to indicate in that letter when do you intend to have it done, yung pagko-collect ng data. Okay? And you have to explain in your administration of the research instrument paano nyo balak ma-collect ang information. So, for product development, product testing, you will ask people to visit your booth and then sample your booth. Ilang ganong samples? How many samples are you going to prepare? Okay. And then, how will you give the respondents the copy of your survey instrument? Kailangan ma-explain nyo yun in the administration of the research instrument. If you're going to do interview, same thing. Saan? Paano kayo magko-collect ng data? Okay? How will you gather the data from your respondent? So, yun ang content ng administration of the research instrument. By the way, if you are conducting a product development, when your research proposal is going to be defended, kailangan meron na kayong sample product ninyo. Okay? So, as part of the procedure of the study, dun sa mga product development, insert ko lang ha, sa mga may product development, meaning to say, gagawa kayo ng sample ng new item or new product, kailangan meron na kayong sample product ninyo. And in your procedure of the study, you have to include the procedure of how to make your product, which also includes yung pricing. Ano yung ingredients and your pricing. Okay? So, kasama yan under the procedure of the study in terms of procedure in preparation of the product. So, nandyan yan. Sa procedure of the study, i-insert nyo siya bago kayo magpunta sa construction and validation of the research instrument. And then, you have the administration of the research instrument. From here, tutuloy kayo sa method of data analysis. Okay? And interpretation. So, anong gagawin nyo dito? In this section, if you're going to be doing statistical analysis, describe how you will analyze your data. So, are you going to use statistical analysis? Are you going to use percentage only? Are you going to use a Likert scale? Okay? Depende sa inyong study. How are you going to interpret the data that you have collected? Are you in terms of interview, for example, ako ba ay magti-thematic analysis? So, interview, pwede siya yung thematic analysis, meaning to say, pag gumawa kayo ng thematic analysis, it means that you are going to read everything and then you are going to categorize under one theme kung ano yung nilalaman ng sinabi nila. Okay? Or are you going to do descriptive analysis? Kung ano lang yung sinabi nila, you take it word for word or tinatawag nating verbatim. Okay? Descriptive analysis. So, kung ano yung sinabi niya, yun na lang yung i-analyze nyo. You are not going to anymore categorize it in terms of themes. So, this one, the method of research of data analysis, is part of your procedure of the study. So, ulitin ko ha. Research design Ang components niyan, method of study and techniques of data gathering na discuss natin last time, the sources of data and then the respondents of the study, which we have just finished earlier. Procedure of the study includes the construction and validation of the research instrument, the administration of the research instrument, and the method of data analysis and interpretation. Okay, so yan yung ilalagay nyo. Okay, so that concludes our discussion for Chapter 2, Research Design. Okay, may I just remind you that for your research proposal, which is due for your semifinals period, ito ulit ang ating kailangang maisubmit. Okay, you have the title page, your table of contents, you have your list of tables if you're going to be doing list of tables, list of figures, acknowledgements, dedication, and then your chapter 1 and chapter 2, followed by your bibliography and your appendices. Your appendices should already include a sample letter of request to conduct study. You can also include the letter of request for validation. Okay. Yan. So that would be B. You can put C, yung sample questionnaire nyo. And then finally, your curriculum vitae as for your biodata. Dapat yan yung, ito lahat dapat nakakompile in in your sliding folder. May prescribed color ako, di ba? Alright? And then, you should have this in 5 copies, excluding your copies. Okay? Bakit siya 5 copies? 3 panel members, 1 copy for the advisor, and 1 copy for the subject. Okay, minsan wala kasing bumabalik sa akin. Ayan. Tapos, each one of you, please take note, each one of you should have your own copy. Alright? Included as well in this package would be your okay, included here is your consultation form with your advisor. And of course, the endorsement, the advisor's endorsement. Meaning to say, before you submit to me, dapat the advisor has signed, has approved the submission of your paper. So, ganito ang arrangement niya. Title page, and then you have the consultation form with the advisor and sorry, mauna dapat si advisor's endorsement, and then the consultation form, and then you have the table of contents and so on and so forth. So this would be the arrangement of your proposal that should be submitted in 5 copies, excluding your copy. Okay? So ganun siya. Ang tentative na submission natin should be on the 27th. Masyadong late na yan. 22nd. Okay? Submit by September 22, 2025, 5 p.m. Ito yung ating magiging settings for the semifinal period. Okay? And then you'll have your written exam on the 26th. Okay? So hopefully, by then, you're ready to present your proposal to your panel. So if you have any questions, like I've said, please feel free to ask me via private message, or you can chat directly in our GC. Okay? So if you have, look forward to your submission on September 22, 2025. Bye, class!